should have cast it together at the beginning of stage 2, but you unfortunately were not able to. But now we get to finally cast that repeat matchup together as the first day of CL, or first group play to FCL.
Yeah, let's do this. I had a wedding to go to. My cousin's getting married. Things are happening. Stuff
I mean,
happens.
I still try to, forgive you for that and find forgiveness in my heart for you doing that to me, but I don't want to talk about it.
Well, same old, same old. We're always going to see Thatcher ban, no matter what map we go to. It's kind of the pain.
Yeah, and Hibana as well. CJ talked about before how we can expect Bank to maybe play out a little bit similarly to how it previously was in the pool. We can also expect a lot of the same attacker bans to come out on this map as well. Thatcher and Hibana especially because of the prevalence of the hatches on Bank for that bottom floor. And Valkyrie as well. She's basically a permaban on every map. So for a new map, it's actually the exact same ban phase. And I wouldn't be surprised if the fourth ban takes a similar turn.
Mirror?
Yep, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, do I even write these down at this point? Like, it's just...
I could have guessed these, man. Come on, what the...
Why didn't we guess them, actually? We could have looked really smart for anybody new that's watching.
Yeah, I could have predicted these, really, at this point. But yeah, we went over those TSM BC games, went over that, the Quanta game EUL. It does seem a little bit of the same. Biggest thing that we saw from Cookies talked about was that open area is the biggest difference here. With the change in how the hatch is open and how, the map is a little bit open area can be a bit more creative with. You actually can play it. It's actually viable now compared to before.
That's true, but also you talked about the I believe you talked about the TSM BC game earlier. A lot of the prevalence of that top floor, or a lot of the changes on the top floor, well, they weren't really focused all too much up there. You still have a lot of prevalence of those windows, those repels. So if you want to extend to that top floor, it can be a little bit difficult. And for the first site, we're also going back down to that basement floor that was oh so famous back when Bank was initially out. I actually, fun fact, Benny, I think you know this. I've never casted Bank.
I would assume because
I was not casting when Bank was in the pool.
Yeah, you freaking zoomer.
Yep, my bad. Like, that's on me, I guess. Could have just done it sooner.
Yeah, you just started casting sooner, man. Come on, what was wrong?
I mean, I did watch Pro League when Bank was in the pool, so it's not like I've never been exposed to it in a comp setting, but just
we'll
never,
see how it goes here. And we're going to see, the big thing with the Beast Coast game was how much they roamed, how aggressive they were during those rounds when TSM, 5-1 them on their half. But it was interesting to see the fact that when Beast Coast played, that many of those Beast Coast players are playing that top floor, playing that Vigil, that Mute, that Mozzie, trying to make it difficult for the attacking team to, get information and to really hunt them down. But I noticed one thing too is the fact that there's such a big main lobby that Mute and Mozzie aren't really as helpful as they could be.
Also, just because that main lobby is so big, at least from my perspective, it's almost difficult to really hold down a position inside of it. You could try to contest ATMs or really contest any of those windows, but because of how open it is, and sure, they might have covered up those skylight windows that to try and repel on that west side. You can't really do it all that well anymore. It's still so open. There's a variety of angles the attackers can try and pin you down from, and it's a bit difficult overall. But for the side of Wichita Wolves, we do have 2 players over on that side right now, but 3 are more on this eastern side, sitting up on top of square, outside of open area, and stock to try and make something happen. And right now, with the side all the way downstairs, one is playing a bit closer to that top floor than the rest of the players on Panik Gaming.
So far, they've already pinged out that top player on top of blue stairs, top of silver stairs. As per usual, as per old Bank, you're gonna have someone playing on top of stairs to try and hold them off and waste time. But as we talked about before, the Jaeger and Wei changes make it difficult to really do this as before. So it's not nearly as effective. So most likely the smoke of Gotcha will probably pull back at an earlier time, depending on how how Wichita will play this out. But of course, they're gonna be opening up this top floor, making sure they can take control and see if anybody's roaming for the moment and to open these hatches as per usual.
You mentioned that Kavana Empire game earlier, and since Bank has not been played as much as compared to the other maps recently, since it is new, and as with any new map, you're not going to have a large sample size to choose from, Kavana did actually struggle to clear out this server stairs position, cost them a lot of time sitting up there, but for Wichita Wolves, they're not directly dealing with it right now. Everyone's looking over there, but right now, not only did they start to put some attention on to the other areas of the map, opening up that stock inside of main lobby, for example, now they are fully starting to rotate over. Freak even doing the marathon all the way over to the garage to try and maybe hit a lick late on in the round and move through in with some solo play. There is a Cade of Oasis there right now, starting to rotate back in. But Jesus, 2 minutes on, and Wichita, they're still setting up for things to come.
Yeah, I think the big thing too you saw from the Quanta game is that last minute lick, like you said, hitting the lick, hitting that flank at the last second when nobody was waiting for it and getting those kills, really interrupting those players. And one thing interesting, since now these Vault hatch not being in red, the hatch is in Vault, and one drops already. Abnai taking that on the drop by Psychosis, and it makes it interesting. Oasis with a C4 of his own Hess, and there's a late minute lick from Freak to make his way into garage.
Not too devious, though. He gets one kill, but it's two members from Panic Gaming to get the two biggest kills of the round on Wichita, completely nullifying that vault drop. Now you might have garage control, but right now the defense still has control, but Freak is doing his best to get a bit more diabolical in the final 30 seconds. He's managed to find Gotch, and with those smoke canisters gone, it'll be a bit more difficult for the remaining three members of Panic to hold off the horde of Wichita, but they also have to catch up to the progress of the Zofia. Callout's looking to drop down inside of this security hatch. There's two members joining him, or one member, I should say. Freak is making his way in, but he doesn't have info on Oasis' position. He's caught gunned down. Barring gets one. Callout finally joins the rest of his team, but with 3 seconds left, no time to plant, no info as well. Panic will manage to pick up the first round in basement.
Yeah, I think a big thing as well is the fact that now that you have that hatch in vault, you have the hatch. Well, the elevator hatch 2 is a lot bigger. Elevator itself is huge on the basement floor. It does give more viability to making those hatch drops, but at the same point, you kind of have to have some kind of way to do it, some kind of, something to stop them from just shooting in the face as you drop down the hatch. If you saw Psychosis, he's just playing red. He watches the hatch, one player drops in, and immediately gets shot down by that Alda. So there was also last minute lick from that garage push in the late dying minute of the round that got one kill, but 2 kills actually, because he killed Gotcha as well. But in the end, was it really a really good take from the side of Wichita Wolves?
That is the question, because Freak did put in a lot of effort towards the end to try to bring that round back, and really, he was the only player on Wichita that seemed to show up in that round and actually, I wouldn't say overall, help his team and increase their chances, because they did do a lot of good things early on, get a lot of control, open up a lot of those hatches, but when it came to actually transitioning to the site, Freak was really the only person that had any tangible impact when it came to forwarding Wichita Wolves' momentum. And you said the vault hatch dropped. It didn't seem like they had the requisite intel on Psychosis' position. They just dropped and no shots really fired on towards him, and then a second kill came out after that. And after Freak's play, it seemed to like intel on Oasis playing inside a vault. Freak just sprinted on in there and was caught off guard by the Cade. So overall, it was a really good early round from Wichita, setting up that control. But once everyone from Panic rotated back, Wichita didn't seem like they had the intel to transition.
Definitely agree. So when they dropped down this into CCTV, and they didn't know Barring was playing in the corner of CCTV. I saw his foot as he's looking through the hatch. Didn't notice it. Drops down. He gets picked off. Though there was a refrag at least, but in that moment you're still in a disadvantage and you had no real control. So of course maybe they were trying to do something to innovate. Trying to innovate, trying to do something new, because of course it comes to that basement attack. The same old attack was just you take control of server, you bait out utility, you go for the plant.
That's at least what I saw. Of course, I didn't cast it like you did, but pretty much everyone knew the famous one way of attack. You attack on the basement side, come in through server, beta that utility, like you said. But I also want to highlight Panic's defenses, because it wasn't really an area where they seemed to be lacking. Freak even rotated down to garage, but there was still a shield there. And even though he got those 2 kills, they still set up some amount of utility to account for any possible play down there. So for Panic, it's also a really good job of keeping all their affairs in order, not having any major gaping holes on the site. And since there was no pressure, all 5 members could just sit behind that utility and wait for Wichita Wolves to come to them. But for the side of Wichita, I would say, honestly, for their attacking lineup as well, it seemed pretty standard for Big, nothing too crazy. We've seen Jackal a lot, and Mohes, sure, he might be on Lion. We haven't seen that in the one time that NA has played Bank so far, but still a comfortable op for Mohes. I don't think it was really anything wrong in their macro play there. It really was just trying to take that big plan and move it into an execute.
Yeah, it'd be interesting maybe if they brought Ying or some kind of smoke, so that if they do make that vault drop back out, something they could deny that push. Because again, like you said before, having the intel necessarily know that Psychosis is waiting for that vault drop, having the necessary intel say that, hey, we can jump on his hatch and make a play happen, and it didn't seem like they had it. Maybe they just were kind of rushing because the time was running out. Hard to say. Hard to say. We don't know what's going on in the brain's heads, the players' heads. I said brain head, but we didn't really know what's going on in Wichita Wolves, what's going on in the background. But they tried to say something new. That's the big thing. Seeing new things come out in Bank is probably what I want to see the most.
Yeah, at the same time, this is also the first time anybody in CL, Wichita and Panic both have actually played Bank on game day. So we can excuse a few mistakes early on for seeing how this map plays out in practicality despite the scrims. And something that I wouldn't say a little bit surprised by, but I didn't fully anticipate this early on, is we'll see Panic immediately rotate up to that top floor. We mentioned how the problem with this site earlier is it's kind of like console on consulate. A lot of windows you can just rappel up on, a lot of angles you can take to cut down a lot of portions of the site. Now there are 2 ways to counter that. One, getting aggressive on those windows, as you might sometimes feel that you're obligated to do so, or bring a castle like Psychosis is doing. Castle off that double barricade, castle off one of the windows, try to stop some of those lines of sight. But those double windows, those are common positions for those castles because they're a bit farther away from the attack, where they can't just sledge it open, and it still blocks off a key sight line that the attack could use to cut away that bomb site.
Yeah, I remember watching that TSM-BC game and the fact that, well, they really focus, as you would expect, they focus a lot of attention on square, but still having somebody by that ATM main lobby area to deny someone from, walking the lobby and getting shots at people repelling, and also being able to see if someone, since those defenders know you come from the square, they start to back off towards checkers, they back off towards banana, having somebody playing ATM to get a kill on somebody playing banana is huge usually. We saw Bolo do that so often in that game against Beast Coast, and we'll see how Wichita Wolves do it here if they can do that same thing. But of course, yeah, the first step is gonna be joining out where these players are at and taking control. And first step is gonna be that square, as I was talking before. They're gonna take control of square, see if they find any roamers. But Panik so far don't seem really intent on playing roaming heavily.
No, there's one player currently sitting inside a janitor. He's close by square, but he's by no means actively contesting that area. There are some players as well down over by the elevators on the top of spiral stairs or main stairs, whatever you want to call it. So both those will likely be objects of Wichita Wolves' attack, and they're both, with minute end, still have not found some solid ground in dealing with just yet. Those elevators especially can be dangerous since they took away those windows in the top of main lobby. You can't just get on a rappel and cut down the entire site. We have seen some adaptations of that, going on a rappel and opening up a small hole in the soft wall over by the elevators to make it work, but whatever it is, it's not happening from that area. It's still happening on this eastern side of the map. One floor down, Mohez is able to find Gotcha with no pick, answered back by Panik, and a second one for Wichita as well. Make that a third as Abonai swings on in, takes the head off Oasis, and those two elevator players I highlighted earlier, they're the only ones left. The site is completely clear. Fettuccini, the new sub-in, will managed to find some good work in this round. The only kill for Panik so far. Abonai just barely spots one member of the defense sitting over by those elevators, but it's perfectly fine. Kala can start getting the bomb down. Mohes is down below to watch the rotate. Fed on 1 HP. Almost manages to find one. Stops himself from losing one of his 5 senses, but he still has to clutch a 1v4 on 1 HP as well with this position more than known by Wichita. Forced to finally capitalize. Wichita Wolves answer back.
That was quite the quick round. A quick retake of square, a quick take of stock, and they just start striking members of Panik left and right going down. Members inside of, you saw members going down main stairs, members going down by janitor. I think there was a player below it open area that get taken out by Mohes. So it seems like when we talk about Intel being an issue that first round, well, Intel was not issue whatsoever for Wichita Wolves that second round. They seem to know where every single player, most of the players were when it came to that early round.
Yeah, and then we talked about that later round, how difficult it was for Wichita to transition. Once they gained that early momentum, Panik was not able to rotate back. Instead, they lost 1, 2, 3 bodies all in a row. It's easy to transition into an execute at that point when the entire bomb site is clear and none of the defense really have angles to contest or retake from. And Panik, recognizing that fact and the problems that they had implicit either in their setup or the site itself, or just a hell of a lot of bad luck, they'll rotate down to that first floor. And this was a site that I expected Tellers to either be the next one they go to, either that or open area. So seeing this now here, managed to make it through. But oh no, not only is Oasis having a bit of a problem with the game crash, we have a cursor bug as well. So hit with the 1-2 punch on that one.
1-2 punch back to the rehost. Oh, technical difficulties and Siege. That has always been the duo. Name a better duo than that, seriously.
I can't. I really cannot.
Every single time. Games, everyone saw that clip of, from Jacob about, Ferme selling hostage and trying to make bombs. It's great. Fantastic.
We're held hostage by, it seems like acts of God sometimes when it comes to those bugs. But we have seen at least a little bit more when it came to this setup, so we don't just have to talk about last round. We can talk about what we've seen. Of course, Benny, side is Tellers. Moving down to that first floor, I would likely expect an extension up top. We didn't see too much of that second floor, but I imagine on this site in particular, we'll see at least 1 or 2 players upstairs and not the same all 5 men in or around the bomb site like Panik has done in rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah, because that's the interesting part. The interesting part so far is that only 2 rounds we've seen so far is that Panik have played very close to the chest. They played mostly near site. Nobody's been involved. Nobody's played aggressive per se. And now in this site that you have to play aggressive, you have to hold that top floor for as long as possible. If you can hold the whole entire round, that's great. But I noticed when we saw the TSM game that we saw Beast Coast try to bring that mute Mozzie combo and try on the vigil as well and try to deny Intel and him top floor, because I said before that main lobby is so big, you can put a drone in the window on main lobby and you can get intel all the way through checkers into executive into CEO.
A lot of intel to be lot of intel to be gained, but at the same time, you mentioned earlier how the expansiveness in the main lobby can sometimes make Mute and Mozzie a little bit more difficult and can sometimes be a bit of a beachhead for the attackers to start making way on that first floor, but also for that second floor as well. A lot of what we've seen on Bank so far is if you want to extend up top, Office is very difficult to hold because of those windows. So you might see somebody sitting inside a conference, somebody by elevator as well, but nobody really fully moving around inside that area because of the prevalence of all those windows. One operator that can sometimes make holding that area a little bit easier is the Mira. She's banned in this matchup. So if anybody wants to extend up top, they could still go for that play, but it won't be as easily as of an extension as it might have been with her in play. And if we do, it could still be the same person, elevators, same person inside a conference, because you got to contest that entire floor is soft. That's free real estate to look into the site, and if you don't contest it even a little bit, you're just giving it away at that point.
Yeah, the big thing you saw when I saw TSM game was that you saw Bolo get on the window. He watches Kanto, or if you don't know, Kanto is the top of spiral stairs. That double.
Yeah, that's a bit of an old reference. He's not even playing anymore, so we might have to.
I don't know if I can use that reference anymore because he's in the game even. But the big thing was the fact that Kanto's a big spot that a lot of people play, and sometimes the question is, do you reinforce that? I saw during the TSM game that one can that Beast Coast was playing up there, they didn't reinforce it, which allowed Bolo to get that long angle down the hallway from the window. And he can deny anybody walking out of E3, walking by checkers, and deny anybody walking on the stairs. And that makes it very easy for the attack to create that prong, to get a 2-point prong onto that top floor. So we'll see how Wichita Wolf does it when we get to it, at least when that happens.
Yeah, that's true. And it appears that didn't have many changes in their lineup either. Still saw the Lion, still saw the Jackals, or still saw the Lion at the very least, and Freak on the Ash as well. So not anything too crazy there. And on the side of Panik, I don't remember the exact lineup all that well. I was too busy talking, so
it was a while ago.
I was about to say, it was also a while ago, but it didn't seem like too far departure from the things they've been bringing previously. We have seen just a lot of Castle in general on this map, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were in that lineup. But hey, almost everyone's back in the lobby. In fact, everyone is back in the lobby. So hopefully, can jog my memory a little bit quicker now.
Yeah, I would say the interesting it's Castle being brought so often here on Bank, and it makes sense. There's many different lines of sight that you want to stop and to make it difficult for the attack to push through. But I wonder if it's kind of a crutch for these teams because it's the first time playing Bank in so long.
Well, I mean, it's after all, again, we mentioned earlier, this is the second time in North America that Bank is being played, not the second time in the world, just this specific region. So a lot of trial and error teams are still going through, still trying to figure out, okay, what works, what doesn't work. And those lines of sight are likely going to be a big problem that teams will have to reconcile with for weeks to come and many, many more plays of Bank to come. But Castle right now, if you're just looking for a quick and easy solution, it's a pretty good one at that to stop those lines of sight. And we're seeing a lot similar of a lineup as what we've seen previously on this side, but on Bank as a whole, from Panik, the Mute, the Mozzie. No Cade coming out from Oasis just yet. He's sticking that Mute, but there is that Castle once again, and an Alibi as well. Not operators uncommon to this map.
Not at all. And so, we see the Mutant Mozzie coming out, and I wonder how effective is it going to be in delaying Wichita Wolves from taking control of that top floor. Of course, the Jackal is going to be a big thing, so as a Lion, it's going to be very influential when trying to deal with, I'm assuming, Gotcha, Barring, and maybe, those two probably mainly going to be roaming on that top floor, trying to waste as much time as possible, and we'll see how well they can do it. And of course, I'm pretty sure the Castle Barricades will go up there with them as well, and we'll see the Repel. Maybe are we going to see the Repel play from Abaddon from the members of Wichita Wolves on top of it?
I imagine not only the Castle Barricades, will also likely see maybe an Aruni Gate or two as well, but I imagine one of those will likely be more focused on the site, the other might be more focused on upstairs, or hell, maybe I'm wrong and everything will go upstairs to try and aid Barring, and maybe Gotcha on the roam as a whole. Right now, Gotcha is the one up there currently setting up some reinforcements, and with those reinforcements set up, it will make it a little bit easier to play into Office. You won't have anybody moving in from Square that can just easily open up those walls and completely nullify any play in there. They will have to rappel up on those windows and get a bit up close and personal with any defender playing up there. And as for right now, setup for Panik is giving a lot of options. They could play inside a conference for as long as they feasibly can and then rotate back to the site with that hatch inside a janitor. You can see Barring struggling to make this rotate hole right now. Bailiff is a bit of a fickle mistress, but a lot of options for Panik to not only hold on, but also rotate down. Never mind, they're reinforcing it, so I lied.
Yeah, it looks like they're reinforcing, because I will say, we've seen in the past, we'll see teams, extend into the Office area and try and take a long angle, and if they make that Tellers play, you can shoot from Office into Tellers and get an angle on someone planted behind the printer. So we'll see what happens, though. And of course, we see members of Wichita Wolves getting on to those Repel and start droning up, but Mozzie, it's a big thing already. See one drone taken away from Mohas, or not Mohas, from Freak. And now we'll see how influential can these drones be. And Castle Bearcat, of course, on that double window to deny them pushing through. And now Wichita Wolves, they're probably going to focus on the square side. But is someone going to go for a two-prong and take control maybe window on that far west side, or are they going to push ATM? Because there is that one Castle Barricade on the side. Oh, Mohes is the member on the west side. He gets just shot up a bit. He's been identified on the windows.
Someone's getting a little bit crazy right now going against Mohes. Only able to do a little bit of damage, and Mohes clearly having what might have been the favorable angle, gets caught off guard. He'll now feel the need to rotate off at least a little bit, and Wichita Wolves, they're making their way over by that square side. They had the coverage west, but with Mohes's position known, it could be a bit more uncertain as to whether or not or how aggressively Wichita want to start taking in from that square side. Forrest will manage to find the first pick onto Psychosis. That was the Aruni running around down below, and him or Gotcha could have been the culprit for the person shooting over by Mohes, as I believe it was Aruni being shot, but that was also... No, actually, that was a player who was in a position to rotate up, but the extension is still alive between Gotcha and Barring, but Barring just narrowly peeks his head out. He doesn't know Abadai's position, but no, he misses the shots! Will finally land some. Gotcha goes down. Fettuccine as well. Barring might still be alive, but his team's chances are not nearly so. Freak will start to make his way in, catches Oasis with his pants down. Barring the man inside of Janitor. He'll manage to find one that's Freak inside the site, but 2 rounds in a row, Benny Panik have lost control of the site. We still got a minute left.
That lion skin was so difficult. Catching members to stand still and catching them off guard. He gets pinged by that lion skin and taken down. Barring in a 1v4. And lion skin comes up and in the perfect moment while that plant's going down. So Barring in a post plant with 1v4, looking left, looking right, seeing what members he can find. But the question is, how much intel does Wichita Wolves have? Because they still have 8 drones available. So the drones are probably aplenty and in many different positions to know where exactly Barring is. And you see members already know where he is. Is probably about drone watching his exact position. Those members of Wichita Wolves, exactly. See the ping right there. They knew exactly where he was.
Got a little bit scared with that whole engagement between Abunai and Barring. I thought Barring was looking at Abunai. That was even too charitable. Barring was just not looking his way. Not his fault, by the way. There were members of the Wichita Wolves attack coming from square, so he was looking the right direction in his mind. It just happened that Abunai made his way in stock and whiffed that kill. And that could have been the big thing right there, but Gotcha also swung a little bit later. Then Barring swung back in, clearly communicating, hey, somebody's shooting behind me. Gotcha, could you check that out? Because I kind of don't want to die right now. Gotcha was like, will do. Then Abunai managed to transition and get him. But overall, for Wichita was another example of they managed to get control of the site in that extension, and a little bit worse for wear than it was in round number 2. Remained alive while the rest of the site faltered beneath. Wichita Wolves, they managed to make their way on in, and for 2 rounds in a row, the strategy of just containing the extension and getting the frags on the site and moving on in has been successful.
Yeah, I would say compared to the first round, intel has been a plenty for Wichita Wolves. They've been placed those drones. Well, we saw at the beginning of that first or that second or last round, we saw the Aruni of Psychosis being sewn on the drone, is walking, just running around kitchen, and exactly they get rid of him immediately. So I will say so far, Wichita Wolves when it comes to the intel game has been fantastic ever since that first round. They've been able to identify players and give each and every single one of them, isolate them out, get those kills that they need to do. And well, now we're on to back downstairs to the basement once again. And what is it going to be a change in their defense this time around? Because it did work out pretty well, but it was also kind of a crazy vault drop from the side of Wichita Wolves. Looks like there are some members who were roaming, but they're going to return back to site so far. And again, Panik Gaming are just sticking close to the chest, playing a simple game.
Yeah, and we'll now see how Wichita can manage to make work of the players on the site now that there's not 2 or 3 extending their way off. They can't really contain an extension that isn't there. They'll have to actually flood the site, get the frags down below, and try to make it work. They looked at this server area early on for about a minute and a half in their very first attempt of attacking the site in that first round, and they looked over there. They saw the player playing on server stairs, opened up the very same holes that Abonai's opening up, then they decided, no, we want to go for more of a play over by main lobby and over by vault. We'll see if the same strategy goes here, because Abonai, he's opening up, he's droning. We're still a little bit before they started to make their play, and now that he knows he's there, he's got nades to deal with him.
Yeah, it's only a Jaeger too, and Jaeger's been severely nerfed compared to the old days of Bang, so it shouldn't be difficult to burn the ADS and then be able to blow him up. And wow, that was interesting to see there. Looks like he forces to go to work and open up this hatch into server to deny the rotate from the player playing on top of those stairs, which is Gotcha on the smoke. So he's going to go to work, and I believe there's a player below him. The Jaeger of Barring is ready to try and take a kill and deny the Maverick of Forest from doing his work. He's waiting for a kill, but Forest is playing the safe. He knows exactly what's going on, and that's, there you go. Abonai's been there to help him out, and he's going to try and get a pick or try and stop this from happening. Barring is still playing behind the server rack. And interesting too, server's a lot bigger now. There's a large gap between that server rack and walking back into CCTV.
Yeah, so Barring might have a little bit more freedom to play, but Panik right now still has some freedom to make work in this round. With that hatch opened up and with Wichita's renewed focus on this area, or I suppose new focus on this area, their ability to play within this area is much, much more diminished. A frag grenade and a flash grenade sail down next to Gotcha. The first one doesn't do much damage. The second one blinds him completely, but there's no capitalization from Wichita just yet. And Gotcha has now decided he's going to be playing his life in this position with no smoke grenades left, but a shotgun in hand. He could do some crazy work on one or two members of Wichita. The drone finds him. One starts to swing. He shoots too late. Gets the one at the second and the third as well. Or the third shot, I mean. But the second enemy, no, it's only one for Gotcha. Abonai manages to move on in, land the trade, but they're still barring behind the server rack. Content to play his life as well. He knows there's likely no escape if Wichita's able to play their cards right, and he can't even rotate out. He's caught in that very same position. A double for Abonai so far. They're aware of the Yokai's presence as well, now that two of their players are stunned. But with the Exothermic coming up late, they'll have to move in quickly in the final 20 seconds to try to make this work. Mohesi coming from the back from Garage, not Freak this time, but his twin brother. He gets the kill, 2v4, make that 2v2, thanks to a C4 and a couple good shots from the Alda. Abonai now finds it on his shoulders to get the bomb down, but the only one left is Mohesi inside a Garage. What kind of flanks can he really hold? The bomb manages to go down successfully. Oasis starts to move his way on in, but Abonai now standing up, catches him off guard. Psychosis in the 1v2. The new pickup gets his head taken clean off. A quad for Abonai, I do believe, and a third round in a row for Wichita.
That was definitely what you'd expect from Bank in a much more difficult time for those defenders. Of course, your Jaeger might have been nerfed, so, Gotcha playing the top of stairs was just like you expect, but not as well as you see. Still getting that first shotgun kill, not being able to get the second, getting Abonai control of server stairs, and then open the hatch. And at that point, Barring is behind the server wall, and you saw the distance between the server wall and back in the CCTV, and Abonai knew where he was, pre-fires angle, 2 kills for them. Walking into site, and then you saw from the other side, Mohes walking into Garage late, getting that kill, denying the Garage player, which I believe was the Echo who was waiting for that time to, I don't know if it was Echo or not, but he's waiting for that time trying to deny the plant. They get a C4 off, they stop the plant, but at that point, there's still a disadvantage. You win a 2v2 at that point, and the plant goes down after using, Mohes using the rest of his E1Ds to stop him pushing player inside CCT plant. Diffuser, you're a 2v2, hard to take that fight. Abonai gets a 4K. Great round from Wichita Wolves.
I mean, overall, the change to put more focus on those server stairs and that server hatch, I think, was the right call by Wichita. They decided, you know what, we can't contain this one. We just have to deal with it, and it worked. Of course, you also have to play by Mohes and Garage. If he manages to fall and takes that late 1v1 and it doesn't go his way, I think that actually could be the round for Panik, but it was still a good adaptation to make that execute happen. Just lost some gunfights on the way down. It was a little bit shaky, but still an excellent win by Wichita overall. And Panik Gaming, they'll go back down to basement. And will we see some changes? Gotcha and Barring both back on their same roles. But will they take up those same positions? Don't see the same shield put up by Gotcha. Yeah, I suppose. Oh, yeah, he did have a shield there last time. So, yeah, not the same shield just yet, but he's putting it right there now. They'll try this server hold once again.
Yeah, so it's the big thing is the fact that you really can't stop him opening that server hatch. So I feel like even the same play is gonna happen the same, but they're just gonna open the hatch and they're gonna deny them from really playing that aggressively. It depends. You could try to K trick the server as well. I've seen that in the past too, which has been crazy, but we'll see what happens. Already, well, Force is going to work actually on the vault hatch instead, and there is a player close by. Oasis got a C4 kill from here last time they tried this, and I wonder, how is it going to be different for Wichita Wolves? Oh, he sees the legs of Oasis peeking below, expecting the kill here. No C4 thrown just yet. Shots onto Forrest, but he runs away, knowing that it's too late to get a kill. And now with that vault hatch open, is this going to be a different play time? Are they going to try for the innovation once more on Wichita Wolves' side?
Well, one change made by Wichita is they were bringing the thermite last time, and I believe they yeah, that's not a word. Foregone. Is that the proper usage of that word? I second guessed myself for a second.
It might be. I would have to ask an actual English major. Somebody please correct me.
My dad was an English major, but I can't talk to him right now. There's no phone a friend on Challenger League, so I'll just use a different word. They elected not to bring the thermite last time, and now they elected to bring the thermite, but now they're switching back to the ace. So it does actually restrict their hard breaching a little bit. No exothermic to open up that single panel out inside a server. Now Callout's used all of his exothermic, so if they want to make some headway in that spot, they'll have to use the Maverick with not too much of his torch left, and that'll take a lot more time. So it could be another hatch drop once again, Benny.
Yeah, it does seem like this time the point of the contention is the hatches compared to this is like the same lineup they had the first round, so they're more focusing on the hatches. And of course, Freak once more going towards Garage for that, waiting for that cue for the last minute push to take control of Garage when they're not expecting it. Psychosis was the main culprit of denying this drop last time, so a grenade from Abonai should allow him to jump down here and get a kill. But it looks like that bounce may have gone through. C4, oh, perfectly placed by Oasis, denies the drop. Psychosis once more denying the elevator drop too. So far this drop, these hatches have not gone well for these players. Are they aware of Freak this time though?
Well, that's the question. Clearly not. Fettuccine, well, he actually might have been aware of Freak's presence, but he gets his head taken off and just no time to react from the Echo and no time to react from Panik overall. Oasis stopped the initial entry from Abunai, but now he's left in a 1v2 thanks to his kill on Nemo. They know Freak is coming from Garage, so he'll keep an eye out on that position. And Evil Eye left up inside as well can relay that info. Hey, there's nobody playing over by server. They have to be on that southwestern side by Garage and by that area. But oh no, he drags his crosshair across the head of Forest, but doesn't pull the trigger, doesn't see him in time. Wichita Wolves 4 rounds in a row. For one that started off as rough as that execute, I'm amazed they managed to come away with it in the fashion that they did.
Yeah, that was a great initial deny from Psychosis and Oasis, but then the push from Freak going through Garage, I believe there was Forest on top of the hatch inside of server or CCTV, and they were just playing those angles well, and they still persisted in hatch drops, and they're able to make it work, surprisingly. But in the end, the only 2 kills that they really got were those 2 kills from Oasis and Psychosis. The rest of the members from Panik fall one after another in those engagements. So unfortunate for Panik, but they just couldn't win those gunfights when it came to that last minute from Wichita Wolves. And 1-4 for Wichita Wolves so far, or 4-1 for Wichita Wolves so far. It is looking mighty fine for them on this half.
And because of how new this map is, there's no real... Obviously, there are, people talk about in scrims, oh, I think this, oh, I think that, but especially North America, we don't have a lot to say, okay, this map is X-sided or X-sided, but for Wichita, just period, side to side, starting out 4-1, potentially with a 5-1 half in your grasp, as Basement was the only site that they lost initially, and now they've won it 2 times in a row. This is looking really good in your first game, where you're trying to wipe away the poor performance of Stage 2 and reclaim something a little bit more in the vein of Stage 1, especially when, as I said earlier, Benny, this was the first matchup of last stage, and it was Panik, then Orgless, with the same core 3/5, then it ended up beating them 8-6. So, a bit of poetic justice and a good tune for Wichita to start singing if they were to start things out like that.
It'd be a good start for them. Yeah, they had a poor start, unfortunately, last stage and did not really change throughout the season. They had some, they had a bit of a uprise at last stage, but it still wasn't a great end to the stage for them. So this could be a great start for them and really sing the tune as they go through the stage. We'll see what happens so far. Freak going downstairs through Garage, maybe to make a push up those main stairs that no one would expect on the side of Panik. He's running upstairs. He's being droned as well, and there's a player on top of stairs on the landing. It is the Jaeger barring. Does he hear the noise of this 3-speed Ash running up his stairs? But there is Barboy in the way, and this is a character on the camera, so they obviously at this point identify that Freak is trying to go for a lick early in the round.
And with Barring spotted, Freak could try to gain some more info, but making a play in all likelihood is not something he's going to want to do. Well, never mind. Barring just gives himself away on that one, so no need for Freak to break that barb to push up those stairs. Gave his life away. Psychosis fallen as well. A 3v5, an early one at that. The Panik find themselves in. Oasis will start to push on out. Nobody directly inside a square from Wichita means they could start getting a little bit aggressive and holding that side of the map, but the attack from Wichita is not coming from that area. This time it's coming more over from that west side. Panik, they are adapting to what Wichita have done in the past, but the attack seems one step ahead of the defense with a 3v5 as well. A minute 35 still remaining. They have time to get a couple more steps and pick up the pace at any time they want.
And the big thing too is they open up cancel now, so that player inside of the elevator, I believe at this point, is stuck in the elevator unless he drops down. There he tries to walk out. Fett tries to leave. He's taken down by Call It on the window. Now that's the last 2 players of Oasis and Gotcha. Oasis gets one of his own, but he's playing close to the chest here on the stairs. A second to his name. He's holding these stairs as well. He's trying to back off the moment, but now at least Gotcha all alone in sight, and the members from Wichita Wolves can now try to push on site and overthrow Gotcha on site. And there it is. Force. Great shot with the F2. Take control of site. Oasis with a C4 in hand. Can he deny his plan? Do they have the intel in hand? But no, they do not. Oh, wait, do they actually? It's great C4, but 1 second too late. Plan has gone down. Oasis in 1v1, but it's a post plan. Ace for Oasis would take this round for his team and put them, in at least a reachable spot to bring it back. Hard to say. Let's see how it works out, though.
Well, 25 HP, and this is a long-range engagement he finds himself in. 25 seconds left, maybe about 18 or so if we're being specific, but he's moving closer. Does Mo know he'll start to swing, but it's exactly the wrong time. Oasis still lacking the intel. He'll continue moving on in. The time is slowly moving down. You're running out of time, Oasis. Figure out what you have to do. He'll start the defuse, but it's getting to the point where if he falls off for even a second, the round will be over, and Mo spots him. A quad kill for Oasis, an admirable attempt. Likely would have been the best play of Stage 3 so far. It's unfortunately not going to happen. Wichita, they secure a dominant 5-1 half.
So in the beginning of that, unfortunately, I think Barring swung that because Abinai was getting on top of the skylight he was on, actually.
Oh.
I saw it at the end there, and I didn't know you can actually jump on the skylight. I don't think you can vault that skylight anymore like you used to do in Old Bank, but he still was able to get on top of it, and at that point, Barring was screwed. So I believe Barring at that point, Barring tried to just go for a kill rather than
a great
picked
play
off
then.
running away. Because I saw at the end of that, I saw Abinai was sitting on top of that skylight. So at that point, he had to make a play. He couldn't do anything else. But either way, that was a great round from the side of Wichita Wolves, and Oasis almost bringing it back. But again, just Wichita Wolves playing it well, opening up all the angles they need, isolating every single player one by one, and getting rid of them at a time. Great job for Wichita Wolves to end the half 5-1. We go on to their defense half, and Oasis, that could have been quite the play for Oasis. That was so close, but again, no intel on his name. Didn't know what was going on. Great C4, and also big thing too, the C4 destroyed that bookcase that usually is there, so he was in full view.
Well, and also, I mean, you talked about that play. I suppose the play I said was Forrest on that. I can't remember if it was Forrest or Abinai on that skylight.
Oh, Abinai.
It was Abinai? Okay. Well, so the play by Abinai on that skylight, I think really highlights that Panik really didn't do much wrong in that round. It's just Wichita played that exceptionally well. Barring had no choice but to try and make a play up or down those stairs because of that position. Fettuccini had no choice but to try and scramble out of elevators in some way because Wichita had basically completely pinched him out. There wasn't much they could do. So the story of that attacking half for Wichita was just playing the game exceptionally well, getting all their affairs in order. It took one round to get going, but they managed to make it work. For Panik, they're bringing a very similar lineup. They're just taking that thermite more consistently so far instead of that ace. So if we want to see that same level of play, I think Panik could easily bring it back if they're able to isolate the roamers and the players playing off-site, like Wichita managed to do to them on their attacking half.
Well, so far the only change is this is the first time I've seen Thunderbird, actually, isn't it?
Oh, true. I saw it and didn't even realize it. Yeah, Thunderbird.
First Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, like Bank, not played all too often, and in the meta overall. So seeing her first round by Wichita, nice to see something new and inventive being brought out. And Forrest is playing incredibly close to the attackers coming in from square as well.
Yeah, he's in a position to take a fight immediately, and this is, again, it seemed like Panik on their defense was playing very much to the chest, while Wichita Wolves are having no problem extending as a team all around the map right now, playing different angles. Well, of course, you have somebody inside checkers. You have Forrest playing janitor. So, of course, the first pick is, can they deal with Forrest? He's going to put the perfect time. He hears it, gets two off of those kills, and he goes back to site.
You could even see Mohes making his way on out. This is a Teller's defense, by the way. A lot of focus on the upstairs right now, but it is currently the first floor where the bomb site resides. But excellent coordination. Forrest might have gotten both of those kills, but you saw Mo making his way out of Teller's to try and give some support to the Thunderbird, who was likely about to rotate down. Thunderbird got the 2 kills on his own, so Mohes didn't really have any time in the sun to do something cool. But still, great play by Wichita to start things out, but now is the time for Panik to start making things work. Freak and Mohes both go down. A 3v3, the Echo swinging, Barring outside of main lobby, but there's Forrest to try to counter things out and bring things back on the side of his team. With those 3 kills so far, you've taken down the Sledge, the Maverick, and the Jackal. One of those could be helpful in finding any of the players moving down to site. 2 of those have sets of nades, and one of those is the main soft breacher on your team. So opening up this floor above the site is going to be a lot more difficult. And in the final 45 seconds, you're going to have to make do with your horizontal control. Oasis is going to have to drop, make a play on that rotate, aided by Psychosis. And if that play doesn't work, that's likely match point for Wichita.
Yeah, at this point, the members of Wichita are in positions to deal with this play. Oasis may be the only person who may drop down. Nobody know where he is. And I would say Thunderbird being around too. The fact that, Forrest can just get healed up and be on full HP is crazy for his team, and how much, Thunderbird doesn't have the greatest use, but in situations like this, when you're in this last ditch moment, being in the full health is huge for his team. And it looks like they're trying to rotate over to a square push into Archives, but they have no info where these players are at. One player around the corner is a shotgun. It's call out, waiting for it. One kill, he goes down. Actually, they're on site, but Oasis goes down from the shot from behind, and there it is. Forrest finishes one, Abbott at the other, and Wichita Wolves are a match point.
6 rounds in a row so far for Wichita. Panik won that very first one, but since then, they have not really been able to get much going. Some of the rounds have been close, but a lot of them have been very much a Wichita round from beginning to end at just varying man counts by the final, or once the clock hits 000. For Panik, in that round, obviously the play by Forrest is what is sticking out in everyone's mind as when things started to go wrong. They were making the same square push that Wichita were doing, trying to get some people in, put somebody inside a stock as well, but while they were getting intel and they were trying to play it safe and naded out in that position, Forrest heard that sound cue, heard the nade being pulled, and said, "You know what? If I'm gonna get naded here, and if they might have somebody stock, I'm not gonna have many options to rotate off. You know what? I'll just make a play. I'll go for it," and it went exceptionally well. And managing to rotate back on top of that, Panik were just set on the back foot so early on in such dramatic fashion. It was always going to be difficult to recover from that. And the moment they lost the barring in main lobby as well, even though they managed to get 2 kills, that was pretty much the round at that point, since you lost an element of vertical as well once Wichita relinquished it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Wichita play so very much more. Maybe it's not aggressive, but they are taking fights. They're not afraid to start taking these fights early in the round compared to Panik, who really are just waiting for Wichita Wolves to make them move first. So we'll see as we go to this top floor of this executive CEO defense. And, well, we saw Wichita Wolves plays pretty well. Most of the times they're able to isolate players, whether it be in an elevator, whether it be downstairs, whether it be in stock. They're able to get those kills in the round, and we'll see if Panik can do the same and isolate these players, and if whether or not Wichita Wolves are going to play aggressive like before, which, you know, it's kind of difficult to play aggressive on this top floor defense because rotating downstairs, you could easily be cut off by players on the side of the attack. So let's see what happens here.
They're still seeing a similar setup from Wichita Wolves. Forrest, instead of being on the Thunderbird, is on the Wamai, but I believe playing pretty much the exact same spot as he was last time, behind a shield, just by the vending machines over by Square, and Panik are taking things from the exact same side as well. Again, no fault to them. Makes perfect sense. You're attacking that top floor. Square is a very common position to start making things work, and it was that shield where they got caught up last time. So if there's any time and any place where they can show the improvements they've made, it is here. Right now, they'll continue putting focus on these northern windows as well. Nobody from Wichita Wolves, you talked about their aggression, Benny. Nobody's trying to get aggressive on those windows. They're just letting them get their positions, letting their setup do the talking, not trying to make any plays until Panik give them the opportunity to do so.
Well, they're successfully identifying the first step is dealing with Forrest behind this. Now, you've seen before in the TSM game where they open up that wall and they play for a more longer approach by having people on checkers with 1.5 or 2x's shooting far range. And there's the first kill. Abner, who actually walks up, jumps out, gets 1 kill, gets 3 kills, and that is the one that finally put him down. But at what cost? 3 members dead for Panik. It would be the end of the match right here.
We saw so much emphasis, Benny, by those players playing on those northern windows, but was there anybody watching Square? No, there wasn't. In fact, maybe even the smoke grenades hurt them a little bit, watching Abadai run up those stairs, but since nobody was watching, he gets that kill. And that would have been annoying, but you could work with that. Then he just hops out the window and kills 2 people, and 3 of them were completely lined up for him. I mean, at that point, that is absolutely ridiculous from Abadai. 2v4 for Panik Gaming, barring desperately trying to make his way up main stairs. Everyone from Wichita knows at this point, hey, we've already made our play. We don't need to do anything else. Forrest might not have gotten that memo, but Free can at least compensate for that. Him and Mo finish things off. An explosive end to a dominant game by Wichita Wolves. A 7-1, a far cry from their 8-6 loss to this very same team just a couple months ago.
Well, you say very same team, but 3/5.
Yeah.
Both teams are 3/5
Same
of
core.
what they were. Yeah. 3/5. Both teams are 3/5 they were last stage, but Wichita Wolves looking like they're on the upswing compared to last stage and compared to Panik. Great job. 7-1 on the new map and showing us that you can use Thunder